Welcome back.
Welcome back. Sorry about that. We had to take a small little break. We actually went a lot longer than we anticipated, so had to take a small break. But I think
Regroup.
we're gonna regroup and we're gonna tell a little bit more stories about Vegas. But I think we're kind of done. We'll say all the advice that we gave you are from personal experiences. We're gonna tell you about some of those personal experiences.
Yes.
Because A, they're kind of funny. B, there are some life lessons to be learned in that. And C, we're just going to tie it all back. But yeah, the first part of that went a little bit longer than we anticipated. So we regrouped. We did a quick little conversation about what we wanted to talk about. But we're going to do some more as far as we're going to do some different, some road stories as opposed to some advice. So this is where we're going to get into the personal journal portion of our show. So, I think you have a story that...
Buckle up.
I don't know. I know a little bit about this, but I don't know the full extent, so I want to know.
Okay. All right. So, as I mentioned, the very first time I went to Vegas, I didn't qualify, so my plane ticket was not paid for. But luckily, we had our team captain and his wife were driving down to Vegas. And they offered to let me hitch a ride with them. So we drove from Texas to Vegas and stopped in El Paso for the evening. Because that's where his childhood home or his mom.
That's where he grew up. That's where his mom lived.
Yeah. So we went to his mom's house. And actually what happened was my sister at the time lived in El Paso, and it was it was very, very close to each other. I had made plans. Oh, I'll be in El Paso. Can I spend the night with you? We can kind of eat dinner, chat, and stuff. We're like, great, that works out. So what happened was we made it a little earlier El Paso than we thought. So I ended up staying a little bit at our captain's house, and his mom was very hospitable. She asked me to come into the kitchen, for water, a little snack. She gave me a brownie, and so she started chatting me up, and I was eating this brownie, and then I followed her back into the living room, and I'm probably about halfway through the brownie, and my team captain looked at me, and he goes, "Marie, are you eating a brownie?" And I was like, "Yes, it's very good. I like this brownie." And he's like, "Okay, well, there's a little more than sugar in that brownie," if you know what I mean. And I was like, wait, what? Total panic. So that was my experience. Accidentally having a fun brownie given to me by my pool captain's mother, which, by the way, my pool captain at the time was, I don't know, in his 50s, I want to say, somewhere around there. So his mom was obviously older than that, and it's just funny to me that she's the one that gave me this brownie. She's like, "You'll love it." I think he was
in his early 40s. I think he just turned 50 last year or year before last. I think.
Okay.
I'm not good with numbers, and
I'm not good with numbers either. So,
do you remember anything from that point in time? Because I feel like there needs to be more to this than just I had this brownie, because
I'm not a person who participates in that ever. So this was my first kind of experience, and I was kind of freaking out a little bit, but I was sitting in a recliner, and they had this cute little dog, and the dog was in my lap, and I'm tuned into the conversation, but when I tell you it hit me, I was basically drooling. I didn't understand time, petting the dog, because I just cannot get over the sensation of how his fur feels. I'm glad I was not in public. I'm glad this was a complete total accident with people, don't want to. But my sister picked me up, and I was still she's like, "Are you okay?" I had to tell her what happened, and she thought it was the most hilarious thing ever.
That's hilarious, because
yeah.
Wish I got in there to see that, because that was probably awesome.
My pool captain and his wife thought it was.
There's a little bit more than sugar.
Yeah, it's just my gosh, are you kidding? No hard feelings at all. I want to put that out there. It was an accident. I totally get that it happened, and it's a funny story. Funny now.
Because it ties back into, our trip to Vegas because
Yeah.
of the fact that it just, it was just one of those things that randomly happened. And I had actually never heard the story. I heard that it happened, but I hadn't heard the story about anything. So like,
Yeah.
is there anything else? Because I feel like, man, I'm just sitting here envisioning, and I'm just like, there has to be more than you just petting the dog. But
Well,
then again,
he did stop me halfway through. Like, I imagine if I would have eaten the entire brownie, I probably would have been. But I'm not kidding. Like, I was like my mouth was listening to the conversations that were going on. I was trying so hard to stay in the moment, you know.
Yep.
But I tried so hard.
I know, because my experiences with that kind of stuff, like sometimes it's good, sometimes it just hits you like a shot, and then you have no clue you're all of a sudden you're in space.
Yeah.
And it's a good feeling, but sometimes it's a bad feeling. So I can attest to that. It's happened to me a couple of times. Never. One
experience was just on accident, but
was a one experience enough for you?
Absolutely. I'm good. I'm good.
I've had that happen to me before too. Like, kudos to you for handling this, but this is not for me. I'm already a nutcase enough as it is. I don't need something adding to it.
Exactly. My brain doesn't function well. It's just reboot. So, but that's kind of what happened with that. And I got to spend the evening with my sister, which was fantastic. So El Paso is a great stopping point if you've got some time. Then we actually got to visit the Grand Canyon. We stopped and took pictures, and it was just such a neat experience to drive it. And then when we got into Vegas, we had the extra experience of like driving the strip in, and so
I came on a packed plane. But I flew with you. But I flew with your husband, so it wasn't all bad because I remember getting lucky. I remember getting lucky and being able to sit next to Colin. And for those of you, and I hate to mention it. I don't hate to mention his name, but I hope he doesn't get mad at me for mentioning his name. So for those of you that don't know, I've actually known Colin longer than I've known Marie.
Mm-hmm.
Colin and I were childhood friends. We grew up together. We hung around each other. We weren't like, I don't want to say we're not the best of friends. We're really good friends. I consider us good friends, but we're not the best of friends. But we grew up together. We have played pool. So I was lucky enough. Again, this is a good thing about it because a lot of the people that I will say that a lot of the people that I've gone on these new experiences with, it's been with friends that I've known for a very long time. So that's always a plus. But I was lucky enough to sit next to Colin on the plane ride because again, this is my first time to go to Vegas. Pretty sure I think it was a lot of our first time. I think there was a couple people that have gone before us, but this was my first time, so I was lucky enough to be sharing a plane ride with him to go, which was really kind of strange because when you look at it, his wife was not there. We
weren't married yet. We were freshly engaged.
That's right, because I almost ruined I actually almost ruined our friendship, which was at that point it was what? Let's see, it was it was sophomore year when we weren't really we had known each other
junior year
when we weren't really that good of friends until we started playing pool together, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably. We had crossed paths.
We crossed paths so many times, but we weren't really that good of friends. So I think I was close to undoing a multiple years of friendship just because I couldn't keep my fucking trap shut.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say that.
Exactly.
Again, this was at a time where I don't want to turn this to a mental health thing. That will come up. I promise you, I keep bringing up the whole mental health aspect. That will come up, but that's going to be in a whole different episode. But again,
it is such a huge factor.
It was a huge factor in anything that we talk about is normally a huge factor in that. So, honestly, we will probably have an episode about. But that being said,
stay tuned.
Yeah, right. Stay tuned. Really? Okay. All right.
The light. Oh my god.
Light problems notwithstanding.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of time. So like at that point in time, when this particular case happened, I was not in a good headspace. I didn't have a good home life. I don't want to say I wasn't happy because it was just there were some circumstances involving a previous engagement and a previous relationship that I was in that just kind of like for lack of a better term, went belly up,
Mm-hmm.
that made me kind of, I guess, disheartened to the idea of it. But you go on this, because I will.
Well,
I'll tell you what. You tell what happened, and you can go as deep as you want, and I'll fill in some gaps. Because again, this whole situation was my fault. And again, like I said previously on the last show, I'm an idiot, but this time I was an even bigger idiot. So,
well, okay. Let me preface this conversation by saying, at the time, Dylan and I, we really had become very close because of pool and playing on the, and you go through a lot of trials, like coming together as a team and stuff creates friendships very quickly, and
you don't realize it, you don't realize it. I'm sorry, I apologize for cutting you off, but you don't realize this, but when you're on a team and you play on a pool team, you go into the it feels like you're going, and I don't want to make this more than it really is, but you feel like you go into battle with somebody, so you grow closer with them, and it feels like you go into trenches. And anybody who knows me, I treat pool as trench warfare.
Yeah.
Because you do what you have to do to win, and sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing. But speaking on that, she's right, because when you're on a team and you spend a lot of time playing, you feels like you go into battle, and you're only as good. You can only be as good as the team that you have around you.
Yeah.
So you inadvertently create a friendship with somebody by accident, and sometimes it's not by accident. Sometimes you can recognize that, but if you're me at that time, I had not recognized any part of that. It was just, I just wanted to win. I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
So.
And like, for me, I am a very emotional person. I take things so literally and so to heart that I valued opinions and thoughts more than he recognized that I did. So what happened was, one day we were out to a team dinner. I think we had just completely got eliminated, so we were it's like it was a little bit of a fresh wound anyway at the table. But somebody had brought up marriage. I don't know if it was Colin and I or something. We were, we're excited about our wedding or whatever, but Dylan was like, oh, okay. Previously to this, you should know, like, backstory. This was a couple days into Vegas. I, being an emotional person I am, and I think my husband is like the hottest man ever to live. When we're walking down the street, like,
if you go to Vegas, okay, hold on. All right, I'll help. I know where you're going with this. I'll help you out. When you go to Vegas, you're gonna see a lot more than you bargained for.
Yes,
especially on the female side.
Yes.
For us guys, that's really hard to ignore.
And that's kind of natural. Like, I get it. It's a natural reaction. Now, 11 years later,
it's hard to ignore. It just kind of goes into. I think, and again, especially boils down to the fact that if you've never been there, it catches you off guard. So you realize exactly. Yeah. And I think that had a lot to do with what happens here too, because of the fact that I don't think you had never been to Vegas, right? At that point,
this was my first time.
Okay.
Yep. Colin had been one time prior.
Okay, so he knew what to expect. Yeah. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So,
but if things will catch your attention, and sometimes those things are women who are not wearing a lot of anything, and it's a natural, like, even my eyes went there because I'm like, what is happening,
Yeah.
And it wasn't ever like Colin was gonna be
all over that, right?
Let me take you,
Yeah.
But in my mind at the time, that's the only thing I could think of, and I just, every time he would sideways glance, whether he was freaking looking at me or somebody else, I'm just like, you don't love me anymore. But anyway, so we had a lot of fights specifically on this trip, and I actually will never forget, I called my mom upset, and she really kind of put into perspective for me, like, you're engaged, he loves you, he if you can't trust him, like, don't, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, wow, okay.
That's a whole that honestly, like, and that's a tough conversation to have, because then it's in the back of your head going, oh wait, do I trust him?
Yeah.
Do I not trust him? Because I remember that's another thing too. because I don't deal with conflict very well. I do my best to avoid conflict as much as I can because of the fact that it makes me uncomfortable, especially when it comes to couples. Because when couples argue and you're there and
It's
you witness
awkward.
it,
You're like,
and not only
what
is it
do
awkward,
I
but
do
it makes
with
you,
my hands?
but it makes you feel like you have to pick you don't have to. It makes you feel like you have to pick a side, or you have to figure out, or you just don't, or again, you just don't want to be there. Which in my case, I don't want to be there whatsoever. Again, I still encounter it to this day. If I see, like, even in our league, I'll see people arguing and arguing. I'll just fucking just walk the other way. I'm like, no, I don't want to quit. I don't want to do any. I don't want to deal with any of that bullshit.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And like I said, to this day, it still happens. I'll see some of those. I'll see a couple arguing. A married couple will argue, and I'm just like, I don't really want to be here anymore. But I don't have anywhere else to go. So
it is a natural part of life. Like, unfortunately, there will be some disagreements here and there, and it's how you recover from them.
Yeah.
You know? And honestly, at the time we were freshly engaged, I was still so insecure from previous relationships, which is a whole different.
It's a whole other episode. We are going to have to get in. We will have to get into that. As soon as we feel comfortable talking about past relationships, it's going to happen because we have to discuss it. Because again, that's a caveat. That's another caveat is, again, we weren't always the best of friends until we played pool, but for some reason, I don't want to open up any old wounds, and I don't want to speak out of turn. If I'm not mistaken, almost every relationship that went, I was not involved, but I saw it.
Yeah.
And I was in some way, shape, or form not involved in what happened, but I was in the know and I saw. So I had prior knowledge to everything that was going on, and I know. And we'll talk about that eventually because there's so many things. There's a yarn that you pull out. And as it unravels, you're like, so, and we talked about this beforehand. Is there's a lot more, because we were talking about what we were going to talk about when we came back from our break. We were like, there's a lot more to this than we completely remember, because as we kept going, it just kept unraveling. So we're like, let's keep this on. Let's try to do our best to keep it on the subject of Vegas. And then at another time frame, we could talk about it. I apologize, I cut you off. Okay.
No.
So
okay.
Back to the whole conflict thing. So
that was just kind of like a preface. Like, Colin and I were previously fighting to this, and I didn't speak to my mom until after this conversation with Dylan, so I didn't go into this conversation with some wisdom. But I remember we were talking about our marriage, and then like. And you'll have to fill in some of these gaps for me, but I just feel like I vividly remember you saying, well, why even get married?
There was two occasions to this. There was two. I did this twice. It's starting again. The yarn is starting to unravel itself, and I remember I did it twice.
It shattered me.
So the first time it happened, because I 100% said that. Again, this doesn't always, the thing that connects your brain to your mouth, the filter, sometimes things just fall out and you can't bring it back.
Yeah.
So I think we were out to dinner, and I said this. This is what happened. I said, at the time, I was like, I don't really believe in marriage.
Yeah.
I think it's a sham. It's a piece of paper. All it is a piece of paper. And I was just shitting on the idea of getting married. And I was like, it doesn't make any sense. Because again, there was also a point to where I had been engaged at one point. Or I had been engaged at one point, and it just went sour. And I was totally sour on the idea of getting married. And it just didn't make any sense. And I shat on it because, again, all the other thing too. At this point, everybody on our team was in a relationship, married, or engaged to be married. So I was pretty much the only single. Well, I wasn't the only single guy. We had another teammate who was single as well. But I was rooming with him, and of course the jokes speak for themselves. Again, that's another, again,
Wrote themselves.
they wrote themselves. And to this day, that teammate, he's not a teammate of mine anymore. We're still actually really good friends.
Mm-hmm.
To this day, he still makes the jokes. And I'm just like, brother, if you keep doing that, people are going to start thinking the wrong thing. And it's going to be even harder for me to find a girlfriend. And he's like, oh, but it's funny. I'm like, no, it's funny. But damn, do you take it? Sometimes you say it, and I'm just like, did you have to say that in front of God and everybody? But okay.
Yeah.
But so yeah, we were at dinner, and I completely shat on the notion of marriage. I'm like, it's stupid, blah 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 blah. And I'm pretty sure I don't think I hurt just your feelings. I'm pretty sure I hurt everybody's feelings, except for the actual married couple who had been married for multiple years. And
they just kind of brush it off.
They just kind of brush it off. They're like, you fucking idiot.
How's your salad, dear?
Yeah, right. So they just kind of brushed it off, and they were like, you idiot.
Yeah.
And then I distinctly remember the second time I said something really stupid, which I do quite a bit. I think you and Colin were freshly off of an argument, and y'all came up to our room or something, and y'all were sitting on the bed, and I recognized that there had been an argument at one point.
Oh.
Yeah, and you were kind of standing off to the side and all this other stuff, and you weren't saying anything. You guys were not acting.
Mm-hmm.
You guys weren't acting like you normally were, and all this other stuff. And I was just like, and I just looked you both dead in the face, like, why the fuck are y'all getting married? Like I was like, you guys argue, you guys do all this other shit. Like why the fuck are you even getting married?
I think I just left after that.
And I'm pretty sure after you said that, you just walked off, and Colin just looked. He didn't say anything until afterwards, but he just kind of stood up and he goes, thanks, and just walked off. And and again, you say something and you realize you said it and you can't take it back. And I said that, and I was just like, damn it. Yeah. And not realizing at the time, say it again because I'm not going to speak for you,
that your opinion mattered more to me than...
To be honest with you guys, I didn't know that until just now. Until we started talking about what we were going to talk about, she said that, and I was like, well, that's not a good idea, but you know what? Thanks. So at the time, I had no clue, and I was like, now I do, and I'm like, now I understand why saying that was like you. Because I'm pretty sure Colin, because at one point afterwards, Colin's like, you have to stop saying that. And I was like, but it's just my opinion. He goes, but she believes it more than anything. And I was like, but it's just me. I was like, it's me. I'm an idiot. Everything I say is dumb. You can't say you can't take what I say to heart. And he's like, you have to stop. And I'm pretty sure, I think I stopped afterwards. I think
You helped me navigate a few, I think after that conversation with Colin or whatever happened, you helped me navigate a couple of the instances.
I think I started realizing what was happening. I was like, okay, I need to be more helpful. Or be as helpful as I can. Because
there was this, not to like totally dive off topic, but there was a bartender up at Wizards that was particularly friendly with Colin, and to Colin it was
friendly.
We're friends, you know. And to me, before I understood, before I was confident in myself, not even our relationship, it was me. Yeah. It was me. I viewed it more as, oh my god, he's flirting with her. He doesn't love me. But that's not the case. And in the moment, I can be realistic with myself and be like, okay, can you just shut up? But on my outward words, it comes off like, you don't love me. Mm-hmm. And it would frustrate him. It frustrates him a lot because he's like, I shouldn't have to defend this. And I get that. I totally understand that.
And to piggyback off of that, a lot of so two things. One, sometimes I'm going to paint myself in the picture in a light that doesn't exist. But sometimes we just do that by accident, and it happens, and we don't mean it that way. And it's just like, we're just being friendly, but other people view it as such the other, and then you have to put out a fire, and you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
But that also, and I would be not in the middle of it, but I would watch it, and me being the ultimate person that I am, being the ultimate awkward person that I am, just going, man, I'm tired of dealing with this.
Yeah.
But that also me recognizing I don't have to deal with it. It's not my fault.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything wrong, but I felt like I had to do something. You have to feel like you have to pick sides.
Yeah, and it was hard because
I didn't know what else
equally.
I loved both of them.
Yeah.
I love both of them dearly. And watching things unfold, sometimes you're like, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you look and go, Mom, Dad, you stop fighting.
Yeah.
And you try to be funny, and it doesn't work out. And then you think you're saying something that's nice, and you're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And it just doesn't work. So if you have friends who are like that, don't say what I said.
Yeah.
Just help them navigate it the best you can. Be a sounding board, but don't be afraid to remove yourself from the equation because, again, that was I'm going to say trauma because it was trauma for me. I'm going to say my trauma response was, what the fuck are you doing? Don't get mad. You're being stupid.
So. And I will say, like, Dylan was actually in our wedding. So.
We're going to dive into that? Okay, cool. We're going to dive into it. All
right. Sidebar, because I do want to share, like, Colin and I have been married now it's been 5 years in May.
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
And 11 years total together. So we have some time under our belt, but it took me personally a long time to build up my self-confidence enough to be secure because of things that happened in the past, which again we'll go over later, or on a different episode, later. But Dylan was in our wedding, and I am my original idea, obviously.
Which was a great idea, by the way.
I'm
mad that it got shot down.
I got like almost not a life size, probably a person size giraffe.
To somebody giraffe. To somebody like us, it's life size. But to somebody like your husband, who is like 10 feet tall.
Yeah, I know.
It's a miniature. To us, it's life size. You don't know, her husband is freakishly tall.
Yeah, he's very tall.
He's a tall drink of water. Very handsome. Very sexy human being. I'm gonna say that because it's funny.
I love him.
And he's gonna listen to this and be like, you mother. But,
he's gonna text you later and be like, eh.
Yeah. So yeah, to somebody like him, it's miniature. To us, it's life size. There.
Yes.
Put it like that.
But it was a stuffed giraffe, and my thought was to put it on wheels, and I wanted that giraffe to be my ring bearer, but I needed somebody to roll it down the aisle, and I said, Dylan, I want you to be my designated giraffe ring bearer. And he was like, doesn't a kid usually have wait, what?
I was like, I see the connection you're making here. I was like, I am a kid, but
because at the time we didn't have any young boys. Oh God, that sounds terrible. But we didn't have any younger like nephews or any. Yeah,
I didn't think about that's okay. So now, now it makes more sense in my head because I'm like,
so I was like, because Colin wanted a ring bear. Because you can rent bears to do there's a specific he looked this up. There is a specific website that you can actually rent a bear to be your ring bear. And you know the episode from How I Met Your Mother where Robin's like a ring bearer, and Barney's like, yeah, a ring bearer, so he really, really wanted a bear, and I said compromise for a giraffe on wheels. So but then my mother, I love her to death, and I think that she had it ended up working out because the giraffe still made an appearance at the wedding just by our game table. You ended up walking Zoe down the aisle, and that was amazing. It was so perfect.
And it was hard for somebody like me because those of you who know me, I don't get out of my comfort zone very well. And saying yes to something like that is really hard for me because I don't like being, for lack of a better term, center of attention. Mm-hmm. I don't know. But because I was the last to go down the aisle.
Before I did.
Yes, before you did. Yeah. Okay, that's right. Thank God. I thought I was the last person. I was like, oh, no. No. Yeah, that's right, because Zoe was the flower girl. Mm-hmm. That's right. Okay, so yes, I walked with Zoe. But yeah, it's really hard for me to get out of my comfort zone like that. So I was like, you know what? Because I honestly, you don't know this, I almost did not show up.
You know what? I would have.
I almost was like,
I had a feeling.
I can't do this. I was almost like, you know what? I can't do this. It's not worth it.
I'm
blah
glad
blah blah.
You came.
I was like, but she asked me to do it.
And I meant it. I know you maybe felt like it was a last minute switcheroo thing, but when I asked you, I meant it. I wanted you to be a part of it. I hope you know that. I hope you know that.
Well, And it's also like when somebody asks me to do something like that, it's always not necessarily a big ask, but it's always like, oh, it took them a lot to ask me because I wouldn't ask me. I wouldn't ask me to do any of that. But so yes, we went off too.
We went off.
But yeah, I did that, and I definitely would do it again in a heartbeat. But
just to maybe show from one point.
From a lot of like the growing up that I've done. Because if you know me, you're like, he hadn't grown up a bit, which is true. But yeah, at that point, I was completely against the idea of it, and I was just like, but it was also like when they would argue, it was also me coming out of it was also me being frustrated, like, why am I doing this?
Like again,
like this happens every time. This happens all the time. Fucking stop. But again, if you have friends or people that are engaged that are like that, first of all, don't say anything like that. Just do your best to navigate the situation. And if you can't do anything, and also this also speaks to the whole thing of if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Don't say anything at all because you will regret it. I'm lucky enough that I didn't. I regret it still, but it didn't like bite me in the ass because it didn't like it blew up in my face at one point. But I resolved the situation. It took me a long time to resolve the situation, but I fixed it.
And I don't know if maybe it's a little bit helpful to know, like from my viewpoint of like why this was happening was because of how insecure I was with myself. So even if you do have maybe friends, like, and don't just walk up to your friends that are in this argument and be like, do you like yourself? You know, like,
don't
approach it a different way, but maybe point out, like, hey, how are you doing?
Approaching it in a better light.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's kind of how you almost ruined our friendship forever. I'm just kidding, but
really good at that. I'm kidding. Again, saying stupid stuff will get you. Well, it goes back to my favorite other saying: you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes.
Yep.
And that's one of my favorite sayings. Again, I didn't come up with that. All of you know that's a real saying, but I love to say it because it's a real thing.
Yeah. I actually catch myself saying that a lot, too. I guess I got it from, like, because Colin says it, too, so.
I might have gotten it. Honestly, I probably got it from Colin. That wouldn't shock me if 90% of the stuff that I got. I know for a fact, no thanks trying to quit thing, I got that from a buddy of mine, from the captain of our team, the gentleman that you mentioned. He said that all the time. But I know for a fact I probably got the whole play stupid games, win stupid prizes thing. I'm pretty sure I got that from Colin. So yes, that ties into the whole thing of when you're in Vegas, you're going to learn a lot more about your teammates.
Yes.
Than you, not necessarily, than you probably even want to. But keep that in mind, that's probably going to happen. On that subject, though, are we going to tell the story about the teammate?
Oh, gosh. Well, yeah. Okay. So fast forward to our second trip. At this time, Colin and I were actually married. So, this, I don't remember what year it was. It had to have been
It was during COVID.
2020. Yeah, because we had masks.
We had masks. It was during the short end. I think it was on the. I think it was
October because it wasn't open in August.
Yeah, and I think we had just had our 10-year reunion for our high school reunion. Was it in August or was it?
It was in August.
It was in August, and then we went to Vegas in October. Yeah, because that's another thing. A lot of our friends were asking us about they were not privy to the whole the pool phenomenon that we were a part of.
Yeah.
So that was a cool thing for us to be. They were like, what? How do we not know about this?
That was such a good reunion. I know that's like a whole.
We need to talk about that too. I hope you know what. Honestly, if we could get somebody that was at the reunion, that would be kind of cool to have them on with us. We could talk about that. Yes.
Yeah.
So if we can reach them, if you're listening, pay attention.
Yes. Okay. Well, I kind of forgot now.
Okay.
I got distracted completely by the 10-year reunion. Oh.
It was October in Vegas. You and Colin are actually you guys were
married. In 2019 we got married. So this would have been about a year
or two after.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we roomed together. Well, for whatever reason, the rooms were like booked, probably because they were trying to fit Multiple tournaments.
That's right, because one of the tournaments, the year prior's tournament, World
Yeah.
Qualifier, was canceled because of COVID. So they were fitting.
Yeah.
Because we qualified in 2018.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to go in 2019. I'm pretty sure that's when
2020 was COVID.
2020 was COVID. So did we qualify in 2019?
Probably.
Yeah, we had to have qualified. So we qualified in 2019. Didn't go because COVID, because they canceled the tournament that year because of COVID. And then so they were trying to fit past the year prior's qualifiers and that same year's qualifiers into the same tournament to catch everything up.
So there was just people upon people.
I forgot about that little tidbit.
Yeah.
That's why
the rooms were all booked, and you had to get that other room.
That's why, because our room was already booked with another team, so we had to be upgraded. That's right.
That being said, we had to fit more than 2 people to a room because of that. Like, there just wasn't enough rooms, and we didn't want a hotel across the street because it was already hard enough to get to where you were supposed to be.
Again, walking across the street is a lot more than it really is, or is a lot more than just walking across the street in Vegas.
Yeah, so me and Colin obviously roomed together because we were married, and we had one other teammate who roomed with us, and she was a friend of ours who joined the team. Since this trip, unfortunately, we have kind of had a falling out of a friendship, which I honestly believe maybe started here. Well, not started, but solidified
itself in Vegas.
Yeah, because right before we left, something unfortunately happened to her funding. I'll say that. Colin and I kind of ended up having to cover a lot of the expenses until she could kind of figure that out, which is totally fine, because as a friend, absolutely, I will help you in any way I can. But as mentioned prior in part 1, things are expensive in Vegas, like no matter what. And then all of a sudden we were trying to fund 3 people, and it was like, we don't have a kid for a reason at the moment. So anyway, that's besides the point. What happened was this particular person was in a relationship, and a contractual relationship, and ended up bringing another person to Vegas with her. And I'm really trying to avoid specifics because I just don't want to air anyone's dirty laundry online, but I think this is kind of important for
at least for a talking point, because again, it ties into trips to Vegas, and B, you can learn a lot more about your teammates and you really want to.
Yeah.
Even though if they're your friends, you don't always know.
Yeah. It really hurt my feelings, I think, a lot, that I was just kind of expected to carry this secret for her. Like, it was like, okay, hang on, like
with as serious about relationships and as marriage as you are, the idea of you carrying that secret probably almost killed you. If I'm not really killed you, but you know what I'm saying. Like, it was like, why are you putting this on me?
Yeah.
Which is never a fun thing.
Yeah. And Colin, I love him to death, but he's not a secret keeper. He doesn't.
If something is going, okay, all right, well, I can help you with that. Because if something is going wrong, or if there's something wrong, and Colin has if Colin wants to say something that he thinks is right, he's going to do it, regardless of whose feelings he hurts, regardless of what. Because if it's something that's happening that's wrong, he's going to say something, because that's who he is. That's how he's wired. That's what he wants to do. So.
And usually it's out of good nature.
It's always out of good nature.
Put a disclaimer on that.
Unless you cross him in the wrong light, which I've watched multiple times.
And he's again
scary.
Love him to death, but
he can be scary when he gets mad.
He will, and he knows that about himself. He doesn't hide anything about himself. So anyway, what happened was this particular person showed up to our hotel room, and I was asked by my friend if we could, me and Colin, by the way, we had a tournament. Did we get kicked out already, or did we have a tournament in the morning? feel like we got kicked.
I think we were already out.
We had
Because
just got eliminated.
Yeah, this would have been a lot bigger of it. This would have been a bigger deal if we were still trying to play.
Yeah, it was already, again, fresh wound a little bit. It was so Colin and I had laid down. We were just going to go to sleep and sleep it off. Sleep off the wound of being eliminated. We got a little further this time than we did last time, and it just, unfortunately, wasn't in our
Nothing
cards.
bad happens. Sometimes you run into buzzsaws that are teams.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. So, anyway, Colin and I were exhausted. We just wanted to go to sleep. This was like day 4 of just up and going and everything. So this person ended up kicking us out of our hotel room, saying that she just needed some alone time with her friend that she, by the way, flew out there, but you don't have the funds to pay me back. Mm-hmm. Okay. Not to put any shade. Listen, that's not the thing I want to do here, okay? I see you. Colin and I convinced Colin to go because he was not going to go. He was a brick wall. He was like, I'm not leaving. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I was like, just come on. So we ended up going down to the slot machines, meeting Dylan and one of our other teammates. And at the time, Dylan was obsessed with this game called like Devil...
Okay. It was called Hot Stuff.
Hot Stuff. And the logo was a devil.
So if you go, a caveat, if you go to Vegas, you have to play this machine because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's very addicting, and the problem is...
And it's a lot of fun to watch, actually.
I'm not a degenerate gambler, but if I had the money, I probably would be. Which technically, if you have the money to do so, you wouldn't technically be a degenerate gambler. I do enjoy gambling. And at this point I was in a good place.
Mm-hmm.
Financially. Mentally, I was gone. Mentally, I had no business being there. Financially, I was in a good spot, so I was doing a lot of gambling, and I was enjoying the hell out of it.
It was a fun time, yeah. I'm sorry it was at your expense, but...
I don't care. Because I was actually in the process of starting a new job.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like... whatever happens here is all good. So I was like, whatever. So yeah, you ended up coming down there with us, and you just.
I was in my pajamas, like
That's right. Like I was sitting there playing, and I was about 2 or 3 drinks into my gambling session. So yeah, if you're looking to gamble, if the price is right, I'm always there for you. I probably shouldn't have said that, but we're already on the subject anyway. But I was about 2 or 3 drinks into because they were like, everybody was like, I'm tired. And I'm like, I'm wired and I'm going to go find some trouble to get into. So I was like, I'm going to go gambling. And and again, he's a really good friend of mine. He was like, I'm going to go with you. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
So I was about 2 or 3 drinks in, and I'm pretty sure our friend was too. And we're sitting at this machine, and this machine is like,
wait. We have to point out that he doesn't.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah. All right, hold on. Yeah, so backtrack. This friend that was drinking with me does not drink. He never drinks. There have been occasions where I've seen him drink, but at this point I don't think he had drink. I don't think he had a drink at all. But at this point, he was drinking, and
he gets a little giggly when he drinks, and it's just such a good time.
It's one of those things where you discover it after when you discover it, you're like, did not know you were capable of that. But I also learned that he was also like an undercover degenerate gambler.
Yeah.
Because he was like, I'm watching you, and this is a lot of fun. And he was like, do it this way. And I was like, no, stop. Let me do this. It's a freaking slot machine, so it doesn't really matter what you do. He was like, and so he was like, keep playing. I'm like, I'm down. I was like, I'm getting down, man. It's just starting to get tough. I think it's time for me to call it. No, keep going. Will you play? Well, I don't want to play. Yeah,
he wanted to just watch. And so sometimes he would kind of slip a little, to keep it going, he'd slip a little bill.
Yeah, he was like, I want you to, he goes, you play. And I was like, I'm done. He's like, no, I'll pay. And I was like, well, if you're going to pay, and hell with it, I'm going to do it. But to backtrack, I was playing, and I was sitting there just doing my thing, just playing. And then, by the way, this machine is like right by the elevator. So like you can pretty much get to where you go. And they, all of a sudden, I just see like these 2 people just pop up. And I look over, and she's in her pajamas. I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, we got kicked out of our room.
Yeah.
How did you get kicked out of your room? Are they doing something? And she was like, I'll tell you about it later. And I was like, oh, I think you need a drink.
Yeah.
So went to the bar. got a drink. I forgot to mention that one of the teams that we got, one of the other teams on our Friday on the league that we play on Friday nights.
Oh yeah.
At that time
because we were at a double tournament.
We were there with them, and they're a lot of fun to be around too. I just so happened to be at the bar with the same time with the captain. So that was also a really bad. He's also a really bad influence.
We all took shots together.
We all took shots because of that. And she was like, "I was like, you need a drink. Let's go." So went, got some drinks, and I hung out for about an hour, and then you're all like, "We're done."
That led to our scavenger hunt of finding all of the little machines.
Oh, that's right.
We went and walked the strip and found all of the little hot stuff.
That's right. We went and found all the hot stuff machines and played them, and I played them. That's right. So yeah, if you can, I highly recommend playing the hot stuff machines in all the casinos because they're a lot of fun. They're easy to play too. It's very stimulating if you're.
It's like a little digital thing, and But anyway.
Because I'm pretty sure I did that on my. You know what? It was funny. I did that on my last trip too.
You did?
Yep.
Oh.
On our last day, I think I was like, I'm gonna get me a drink because I went to the Mirage and I bought one of those adult slushies.
Yes.
And I just walked the strip and I just played all the different machines. That ties into another thing. I don't know if it's. I have to check. I think if you can. I highly recommend going to Circus Circus.
Love Circus Circus.
Get yourself an adult slushie.
Yeah.
And go to the arcade.
Yes. It's so much fun.
Because I'm pretty sure... So when you're an adult and you're playing kids games, man, is it satisfying.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure me and this was also like Colin and I had some other outside influences of a different sort. So we were also drinking and also had a little bit other influence while we were doing this. So we just wrecked shop in that arcade. And we took like...
I remember the bouncy ball game.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And it would just... He had it to a point to where he would hit the jackpot every single
into this bouncy ball game. Yeah.
But yes.
The chickens!
Oh yeah, the chicken. So we had one of those those rubber chickens that make that god awful sound. I think we got like 2 or 3 of those.
Oh my gosh!
And on our
got me those terrible headphones, but like worked out for the trip home.
Yeah. So those chickens we packed in our bags. And when we were packing them into the car to go to the airport, we would try to stuff all this stuff into this car, and you could hear the chickens. Brr, brr. We were just dying laughing because, but yeah, we pretty sure we took we had a good time at Circus Circus, and the reason I bring that up is because I think Circus Circus is getting ready to close.
What?
Yeah. The Mirage is actually closing too. They're changing. Yeah, like a few of the hotels and the casinos, like the Mirage is going away. So the Volcano Show is going away. Yeah. And Circus Circus is going away. So I bring that up now because if you're going, I don't know when they're supposed to close. I think they're supposed to close. Honestly, I think they're closing before you guys will be going before the next trip to Vegas. So if it's not, I highly recommend getting out there to get a chance to to watch the Volcano Show and also go to Circus Circus because it's very entertaining and it's really cheap. That's another thing you can do for really cheap is the what's going to cost you the most is the drinks. The games themselves are actually relatively cheap. You can play for a long time. It's something cheap to do if you have some downtime.
But also on the top of the Circus Circus, they do have an amusement park. It's not like a Six Flags or anything, but there's roller coasters, there's mini golf, there's like a 3D coaster, there's some jumping like
it's a little trampoline with the little bungee cords. You just kind of go up and down. They had one of those. Yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. And then, but if they're going to close it, it's worth it to buy the ticket.
If you can, it's worth it to go in there and enjoy it because the putt-putt course alone is a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, and I'm pretty sure we played it twice, but we played once for free because they don't, no knock on Circus Circus, but they don't really pay attention. Once you rent, they're like, whatever. And then you play it. We played for a good 2 hours because we played it until it closed.
Yeah, I was like, we kind of came when, I'm sure they would care more during like the day or when there's more people, but we were there right when it was closing, so they were probably like, nah.
We definitely overstayed our welcome.
Yes, we did. But there was no line on the roller coasters. I was just going one after another. It was so good. Oh my gosh. And anyway.
But on the subject of that, the fountain show at the Bellagio, you've probably heard this a billion times. If you've never done it, highly recommend it. Actually, honestly, even if you've done it before, you still should do it again because it's a lot of fun. It's something fun to watch. And if you like to people watch,
oh my gosh,
my God, walk the strip because you will find some stuff. And if you're solicited by a couple of twins wearing scantily clothes, they are Russian, so they say they don't speak English very well.
Yeah,
bullshit. Just be like, no thanks, I'm trying to quit. Because they'll approach you and say, do you want a picture? And you'll say yes. And then they'll be like, once you take the picture, then they'll be like, that's $20. And you're like,
yeah,
you asked me for a picture.
Yeah, after
you've done it. So,
yep, we have one of those in our camera roll right now.
Yep, I do. Yes. I have one of those. Not my best decision, but it's like, oh, you guys want to take a picture? Yeah, absolutely, we'll take a picture. That'll be $20. Screw you. So,
and I think at the time it was even like, so Dylan,
oh yeah,
didn't take the picture. No, you took the picture. You were in the picture, and then you ended up being the only one with cash, so you paid for this picture.
And they were like, that's $20. We just all looked at each other, and I was just like, and I literally, and I apologize for my language on this one, but I don't really care. But I looked at them, I went, fuck off, really? Fine. So I gave them cash, and then they started hitting on me.
Yeah, they did.
They were like, and at that point, like, and if you've been to Vegas, you know what's up. You know how that works.
Mm-hmm.
They're call girls, and you're like, go away. Just. What are you doing outdoors? Oh, it's like no. Just go that way. Thanks. No thanks. Trying to quit. I know somebody out there is listening to going like, there's no way that happened. It happened because it's legal in Vegas. I'll just say that. So if you get approached by these two girls, no thanks. Trying to quit. Or whatever you want to say, just go away. And I have a story about that too, because it actually happened again when I went to Vegas this last year. But yes.
Go ahead.
You want to tell it now?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this last trip that I went on with the team that I'm on with now, we won the destination tournament.
Okay.
The team won the destination tournament, and a couple of people couldn't go, so they of course invited me. And I went. And on the last day, we're looking for the Hard Rock casino to go to Hard Rock. My teammate, unfortunately, who's since passed, Steve, he was dead set on going there, and it was our last day, and he was like, we got to go. And I'm like, yeah, sure, we'll go. It was me and another teammate, and two other of our teammates, and we're walking up and down the strip in this god-awful heat, and I think it was like June or July, trying to find this place, and we're just walking all over the place, because he had it in his head that there was a giant guitar that you could see from a mile away, and once you saw the guitar, that's where it was. Well, he wasn't wrong, but the problem was he was going off of what he had seen 20 years ago. So he was like, well, 20 years ago, we were like, 20 years ago?
Like, hang on,
wait, 20 years ago? Yeah. We were like, yeah, there was a giant guitar out there. And he was like, yeah. But anyway, I can't remember. I think it's the two hotels. There's a bridge over, I think it's New York, and the Excalibur, or one of the other two. I can't remember which one it was, but it connects to the Excalibur. And crossing over this bridge, we encountered those two Russian girls. And if you knew anything about Steve, he is a very lovable, a very likable human being. It's fun to be around him. He's probably one of the best people I've ever encountered in my entire life.
Yeah, he's
and probably one of the nicest people. If he was going through a hard time, you would never know, because he was that nice. Anyway, these two girls approached him, and they were talking to him and chatting him up, and they asked him for a picture, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll take a picture now." And I literally, if you've ever met Steve, he's like a mountain. I'm pretty sure he's as tall as Colin. maybe a tiny bit shorter. I think there's not a lot of people that Colin looks up to.
Yeah.
I think there's only one person that I've ever seen Colin look up to, and he was also plays pool. The guy's like 7 feet tall though.
Oh yeah, that guy.
But Steve was talking to these two ladies, the same ladies that accosted me for $20 after this picture. And this was 2 years later, and I recognized them as soon as I saw them. I kept walking, but he got stopped by them.
Oh no!
And I literally grabbed him by the arm. They're like, "Oh man!" And then they were like, "Oh, but he wants a picture." No, thanks. Trying to quit. They're like, "We got to get to this freaking casino."
Oh my gosh!
And then, so I was like, "Oh, it came full circle." But yeah, that was one of the stories. So because that brought up another story because I was like, "Oh, that happened again," and we stopped, and he got stopped, and he was talking to them because he'll talk to you.
They know how to work their craft.
They will work the crowd, and like I said, Steve was a very likable guy, and I don't want to say it was easy to work with, but it was easy to get him to talk because he was such a nice guy. But let's see, we told the story, we told about the brownie. Do you have anything else you want to add about? Because we went off on a tangent.
I don't know. I mean, honestly, that's kind of what, like, asking me to hold this huge giant secret is kind of where our friendship solidified at the end of
the beginning of the end. I guess?
The beginning of the end, yeah. Yeah, but
the best part about that whole story, though, is that when they got back, the same gentleman that was there, he parked in a paid parking spot.
Oh my gosh, yeah. So, by the way, just to put this into perspective, both of them did not have the funds. Like, the whole time this guy was there, he was smooching off of her. Mooching. Not smooching, but maybe both.
It might as well be both.
Mooching off of her, and then, because, I don't know. But anyway, we get back. And what originally the plan was, my dad was going to come pick us up from the airport, but it just happened that the day we landed, there was this huge storm that flew into Dallas.
Oh, that's right.
And
my dad got in later than it was supposed to.
My dad was like, "Hey, listen, like, I'll pay for your Uber home. And I'm sorry, but I don't feel comfortable, like, driving in this." And I was like, "Totally get it. No problem." Like, and then I said, "Don't worry about the Uber because this gentleman,
this guy that we don't know that almost ruined our trip."
Because my friend had parked her car at my house. My dad picked us up and drove us because at the time they were living in Denton before their house was ready. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, so we all had to go back that way anyway. And this guy was gonna, I don't know. Anyway, not my business. But he parked, like, when you park at the airport, just FYI, they have these little lots that you can park in that are very reasonable, probably cheaper than taking an Uber, honestly, and well, depending on where you live, I guess. And then you just shuttle in. Well, he decided he was gonna park in the covered parking, like right outside of getting your luggage,
right outside the gate.
Yeah. And $300, something insane, and he did not have the funds to pay it. So, like, we were at the gate trying to leave, and the gate wasn't opening, and I guess his toll tag didn't have enough money, so it wasn't opening. So he had to back out of the booth and go to where there was an actual attendant and give his kind of information and promise to pay, which I don't know if he ended up ever doing that. But the crazy thing is that he was looking back at us like, "Well, I'm driving you. We did not park your car here for 3 days.
You offered to give us a ride."
Exactly. Yeah, he offered. I should say that. I don't think I said that, but he did. He offered to drive us, and that's why I told my dad no. Otherwise, I would have been like, "Wow, thank you so much. Like, I'll appreciate." Yes, thank you. Kind of wish I would have went that route, to be honest with you, but it's fine. It is what it is now. It's a funny story
because it was funny to hear when they told us.
We were like, "Are you looking at us?" Wait, we just kind of funded half of your trip for you already. My friend at the time was like, "Don't look at me. I've also tapped out on funds." You know, you come home from Vegas and you're like, flies are flying out of your wallet.
Mm-hmm. You come back from Vegas and you come back from Vegas and you count your losses.
Yes.
Because
it's
like I said, it's an expensive trip. Again, I recommend it. If you at least go once And if you don't want to go back again, don't blame you, because I wouldn't do it again unless it was paid for.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't take a lot to get there, but it takes a lot to stay there.
Yeah.
And if you're not careful, you're stuck there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yes.
So
the airport thing was hilarious. I was like, well, that's what you get for being a butthead.
Yeah. So maybe to kind of end this on a funnier note, we thought we would share.
You want to do the pepper story now? Are you ready to go home? I mean, are you ready to stop? I was just saying, because
Okay. If you have more,
I have a few more, because honestly I'm gonna tell some stories about my friend Steve, because Steve passed away, not too long ago, and it was a car accident. The cool thing is backtracking a little bit. I had known Steve for about 12, actually almost up to 14 years since I started playing in the league. And his goal was to always go to Vegas and play in the tournament, and stuff like that. So,
sorry, I don't mean to stop you. I just can still hear his voice and feel his hugs. So
he was probably, like, anybody you talk to will tell you that he was probably the best person to ever walk the face of the earth. Probably the strongest, one of the strongest people I ever met in my entire life, to be honest with you. But one of the reasons backtracking, he was on the team that won the tournament to go to Vegas. It wasn't to actually play in the big tournament, but it was a destination. The flight was paid for and the hotel was paid for. It was just, you just had to go. And so a couple of teammates couldn't go, and so of course they invited me because I had just joined the team. And the only reason I had said yes, on top of the fact that I liked the people that were going, was also the fact that Steve had never gone, and he had never played in this tournament, or he had never been in this tournament. And so I was like, I am not missing that for the world, because it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And also, they were like, what was funny is the league operator now was like, well, I told her I was going to go, and she was like, oh, well, you're going to be rooming with Steve. I hope that's okay. I'm like, I've known Steve for 14 years. Yeah. I think we're going to be fine. And she goes, oh, okay, well, that makes it a lot better. I was like, yes, it makes it better. So I remember the first night we got there, the first thing we did was our hotel at this point in time. So, so backtracking. So our flight out of there was at 6 a.m.
Oof.
Yes, our flight out of DFW was 6 a.m. on the dot, going to Vegas. So first thing was, we talked about it, and we were like, you know what, it doesn't make sense, because we're gonna have to get up at 4 to get to actually have any sort of wherewithal to get to this freaking hotel. And he was like, he goes, I'm gonna park at a lot that shuttles you there.
Yep.
And so he was like,
what normal people think,
right? And he was like, it was like $24 for the whole thing for the whole week. And so he was like, I'm just gonna do that. So what we decided was, we're gonna stay up the entire night.
Whoa.
Yeah. So we stayed up. He came over to my place. We stayed up. We watched some TV, and then around 4 o'clock, we moved out and got to the airport in a pretty good timely manner. Got on the flight at 6 a.m. Here's the worst part. So there is no early. Okay, another thing too. There is no early check-in in Vegas. There is no early check-in at the Westgate. We got there, and we were discovered that we weren't going to be able to check in until.
Yep.
So we had stayed up all night, and we're not in very, I don't want to say, we had stayed up all night. We hadn't showered, hadn't slept, hadn't eaten. I'm in flip-flops, by the way. So when I travel, I look as homeless as possible. I'm talking basketball shorts, t-shirt, flip-flops, a hat. I don't know why, but I'm like, I look as homeless as possible, because I don't know why. It's just I don't carry a lot of stuff on me. I mostly carry it in a backpack or whatever. But needless to say, I was in flip-flops, and my feet were killing me. We hadn't slept, and so we didn't check in until 3. The good news was the rest of our teammates weren't going to get there until about 5, 6 o'clock. But yeah, the whole staying up idea was the dumbest thing we'd ever done. But it was also funny, because we were like, why the F did we do that? But we slept so hard that night. It was so great. But one of the first things we did is we realized how expensive alcohol was there.
Mm-hmm.
So we went and got a bottle of Jack Daniels. We got it from we were dumb enough to get it from the souvenir stand. Again, $55 for a fifth.
Yeah.
Not smart. Not fun.
Ask us how we know these things.
That was it. Exactly. Everything that we're telling you about is we've all experienced.
Yes.
But, yeah, we ate at Bagel Mania. I'm pretty sure, again, we spent there like 4 or 5 times.
So good.
So good. And then we got the bottle. And then that night, we didn't do anything special because everybody was tired. So and at that time frame, the Sphere had just been built.
Oh.
And so it was like right outside of our hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
So we decided like that night, we went out to the pool. We had the bottle. We were sitting there. We were just drinking from the bottle. We were out by the pool just watching this thing. And I'm pretty sure about 5, we were drinking and we were staring at this thing for about 10, 15 minutes after midnight, thinking something else was going to pop up. And then we just realized at one point, we were like, I think that thing is done for the night. And we were just staring at it for 15 minutes, just this black ball in the sky. We're just staring at it like dogs staring at it. We're just staring at it.
Oh my god!
And eventually, one of us realized, I think it's done for the night. And then we realized it cuts off at midnight.
Oh.
So we were staring at this thing for about 15 minutes, and we'd already gone through like almost a whole bottle of Jack.
Oh my god!
And so we made our trek back to the hotel. Passed out. And the TV in our room would not turn off. It wouldn't shut off. Okay, yeah. So
whoa.
we would set it. What we would do is we would watch TV for a little bit, set a timer, and then just kind of fall asleep with the TV on, and then it would turn off. Well, at some point during this phenomenon or whatever, the TV would not turn off. Like we would turn it off and it would turn back on.
Whoa!
It would turn on and turn back on. So we'd do it all night, and we couldn't get the damn thing to turn off. And then it would turn off, and it would come back on. So don't know how that happened, but that was another thing. That was one of those things we were just like, we can't fix it. And then they said, we told them like the TV won't turn off. Well, it's on a timer. Well, what kind of timer is it on? Because it keeps turning on.
Yeah.
After we turn it off. We even tried to unplug it from the wall, and we couldn't because it was built into the wall. So.
Oh, how crazy!
Yeah, so it wouldn't turn off. Well, it would turn off, and then it would turn back on.
Yeah.
And so I learned that Steve was a pretty light sleeper. So every time that would come on, you would just hear him growl in his sleep.
Oh no! You're trying to throw a blanket over it or something.
I'm surprised we didn't think about that. Yeah. There was fun stories that came out of that. But I just wanted to tell that story because it was funny because we just stared at the sphere for like 15 or 20 minutes just going, oh, it's going to happen again. I wonder what's next. It's going to be really good. They're amping up for another one. And we just realized, then we looked up on our phones. Oh, it stops at midnight.
Oh my gosh.
Oh. So then we got up and then we realized how much we drank because we stood up, and you don't really know how much you really drank when you're sitting down until you stand up. And we're like, oh, okay.
Time for bed.
So, but okay. That's the only other story that I had.
Are you sure?
I think so. I'll think of some down the road, and
Okay.
I'll give you some more. But that's pretty much the only one that I could think of as far as right now.
Okay.
But
well, then to finish this off, we'll share a story that involves both of us. And oh my gosh, let me tell you, I was feeling brave. We went to this restaurant, and oh gosh, it was like a modern.
It was a diner.
IHOP that had like breakfast and
it had everything.
Yeah, maybe not modern. It was not modern.
Was it the Peppermill? No, it wasn't the Peppermill.
No, but the Peppermill was so good.
The Peppermill was really good.
It was the other one, but it was kind of an old school diner, to be honest with you. It had a similar menu to what IHOP has, like breakfast, but also like dinners or kind of more savory foods and stuff. So anyway, I ended up getting, was it me?
No, it was me.
You did.
Because
okay,
I'm the one that started this whole thing.
Yes.
I ordered, I think it was
I got breakfast. I'm a breakfast girly.
I got breakfast too, but it was Chilaquiles Verdes, I think is what it was called. And it came with this massive jalapeno. And Not only was this jalapeno
Massive.
massive, but it was also green and orange.
You could smell it.
You could smell the heat coming off of it. And so I finished eating, and I'm like, I'm not eating that. And at first I turned to Colin, and I go, Colin, I'll give you what? Oh, it was. I'll give you $20 to eat this. And as soon as I said $20, Colin said no. He's like, nope, not doing it.
Yeah.
And then you were like, I'll do it. And I'm pretty sure you upped it. You were like, for 50.
I did.
You're right. So you're like, for 50, I'll do it for 50. And I was like, if I'm going to give you $50, I was like, you cannot eat or drink anything for 5 minutes after you finish eating this pepper.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, okay.
Done. I can.
And I was like, okay. So she ate it, and she took one bite out of it, and she takes a bite out of it. And all you see is just this.
Because we didn't know it was orange until I bit into it.
Yeah, that's right. Because it was inside the pepper was orange.
Yeah.
And all you see is her take a bite out of this, and all this just juice just drips out of this, and then you hear Colin go, "Oh!"
And like in the moment, because I can do spicy food. I was like, oh my god, I got the easiest $50 ever, right? And with the second I bit into it and that juice came out and hit my eyeballs, my gosh, I cried.
Because she bit into it, and then you can see her eyes get so big.
Immediately.
She pulled it away from her mouth, and she was like, "Oh no!"
I did. I was like, "Oh no!"
And then as she pulled it away from her mouth, you could smell the heat.
Yeah, like from like 4 tables around us.
Yeah,
because the people weren't paying attention. They turned around once
and they saw what was happening, and they were like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
And so she ate the pepper.
I did.
And then I was like, I set a timer. I was like, all right, 5 minutes, and she lasted the whole. Dying.
I did it. Okay, I would like that trophy, but I cried. Actually, I wanted to share a little tidbit, which we'll post like the actual video.
Yeah, we'll post some videos and post some.
We're gonna scoot closer.
Yeah.
Here.
We'll post some pictures, and some videos that we took from our trip.
But
of some of the funny moments.
I hope this. Let me try and make sure that this. So, oh, I turned my flashlight on. Okay, so I think you can see this on the screen because it looks like you can on our side, but I'm hoping you can hear it too. I was so miserable. Oh my gosh.
Getting her to say that.
Oh.
I'm not tall enough to do this. Oh. Okay. I was like, oh, they're taking us out for good. Yeah, so getting her to say that much was a task in its own right.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, this is the easiest $50 I've ever spent, because I felt bad, but at the same time, it was the funniest thing I'd seen, because she bit into this pepper and she ate it. She ate it like a champ, and I was like,
yeah, I did.
I was like,
I wanted that $50.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, if you're gonna make a bet with somebody like that, you better be ready to pay, because I'm pretty sure I did that a couple of other times too. I think I made. If I made enough money, I would definitely be a bad gambler, because I will make the dumbest bets ever. But it was funny because it was like, nobody's gonna do this, but she did it, and I was like, all right, eat it, but you can't do anything for 5 minutes because I'm give you $50.
Make it worth it.
You better make it worth it. So she ate it, and she was in the most pain possible. And
they make those like travel size Tum bottles that are like, like, I don't know, they're probably the size of like a business card or credit card or something. And I'm not kidding, I downed that whole thing. Right. I had so many Tums that night.
And I'm pretty sure I think we had to, and you also had to order some milk from the, did we order milk from the waitress as well?
I think so.
Because I was like, so we got the milk and stuff like that. So yeah, but yeah, she ate that entire bottle of Tums.
I did.
And I was like, I felt bad, but then I'm like, no, wait, hold on, you made that decision. So I was like, I'm so sorry. Wait, no, I'm not.
No, I'm not. Yeah. That was a good one. And
that was a good story.
He didn't think I had it in me.
No, actually, you know what? You're completely correct. I did not think you had it in you. I figured you were going to eat it, but I did not think you were the whole 5 minutes. You were gonna be like, I thought you weren't gonna last the entire 5 minutes. And I was like, and then you last the entire 5 minutes. I'm like, well, that's $50 well spent, because that in itself was entertaining.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well,
I think, you know what? I think that's it. I think that's all we have.
I think we kind of covered what we wanted to. And to those of you who are listening and going to Vegas, good luck. We hope you do well. And
good luck. Shoot well. Bring home a trophy. Do the best you can. If you stuck with us this long, thank you. Again, we were talking about this whole episode was a lot longer than we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, this is.
But we talked about a lot. We covered a lot. We're going to be posting. We'll be posting some photos on the Instagram page.
Yeah, we'll post photos and maybe some videos if we have them. And
subscribe on YouTube.
Yes.
Anywhere you can listen to podcasts. I don't think we're on. I think we're having issues with Apple.
We are, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Find us on. We're on Spotify. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.
Absolutely.
See ya.
I followed your suit. All right. Bye.